Hi folks, I'm on Android.com where we get on Android every day. Anyway, welcome to Daly City. This is my backyard. Yes, I have a really nice view. This is a paradise to live. If you want to live somewhere good in California, definitely check out Daly City. Anyway, today's topic is the RAW image mode. A lot of newer phones, like the LG G4, has a RAW image mode. That means when you take a photo, it's going to give you a RAW file. Now, LG G4 is probably the first phone to support RAW images. I think Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge will support it with a software update. Also the same thing with HTC One M9. So if you have a phone that supports RAW mode, you can take RAW images. Now here's the thing, even though you could take RAW images, most people don't know what it is and don't even know how to use it. So what is a RAW image? A RAW image is basically a file that contains the original information. When you take a photo, it's going to store into a RAW file with all the details, everything in it. Now most phones use this format called JPEG. So what happens with most phones before the LG G4, your smartphone would take a photo and then it would actually process it and turn it into a JPEG image. So every phone actually has a RAW image, but there's a few phones that actually allow you to save it in RAW format. So LG G4 is one of those phones. And what can you do with RAW images? Think of it this way, back before we had digital cameras, you would get a film when you took photos with a camera. Now with that film, you could develop your favorite photos. Even if you lost all your photos, if you had the original film, you could take that to the camera shop and print out more prints. It's like the same thing. JPEG is basically those printed out photos, whereas RAW image files are basically your film. Now, the good thing with the RAW image files is that because it has so much information, you could take a photo and then later change the white balance. Perhaps you set it on the wrong white balance, correct the colors, add sharpness, remove sharpness, increase the exposure, decrease the exposure, add special effects, and you can do all of this without losing any of your details of your original photo. That's what RAW image files do over JPEG. You can also do that with JPEG, but once you start messing with it too much with JPEG files, it will degrade your whole photo, make it almost useless to actually print. I'll show you an example here in a bit using my LG G4, but I hope you guys now understand the difference between RAW image files versus JPEG files. Now these RAW files are usually 20 to 30 megabytes versus JPEG is about 5 to 6 megabytes. On the LG G4, a RAW image file is about 30 megabytes, so it's going to take up almost 6 times more than a regular JPEG file. But the good thing with the LG G4, you can always use a micro SD card and store all your photos there. Alright, let me give you an example here. I'm going to go ahead and use my LG G4 and take a photo here. It's sort of cloudy, so if I put it on the auto mode and take a photo, you get this not so detailed shot. The clouds either missing or some of the trees in the foreground looks very dark. Now with a RAW image file, you can easily correct that after you take the photo. You can also do that with JPEG files. Again, you'll lose a lot of detail if you try to edit it too much. I'll show you all of that, so let's go ahead and take a photo. Alright, to take a RAW photo with the LG G4, simply switch your phone to the manual mode and then go ahead and click on the JPEG to make it RAW JPEG or RAW JPG. Alright, once that's done, go ahead and adjust your shutter speed and ISO to your liking and go ahead and take a photo. Alright guys, if you want to edit your RAW files, one of the best apps you can get is the Lightroom app from Adobe. Alright, and I've got the 2 photos here. Since the LG G4 actually takes 2 photos, this first one is the RAW image file, DNG file, and this is the JPEG file. So let me go ahead and demonstrate why the RAW files are better if you want to edit them later. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this. Let me go ahead and change the exposure. As you can see, you can't see, there's actually a pier that comes out here. And you can see that it just all blurred out, looks all white. So I'm going to go ahead and change the exposure, bring it down until I can actually see it there. As you can see, this is the original picture. You can't really see it, but when I bring the exposure down, you'll be able to see the pier a little bit more clear, and you can see the actual shadows of the clouds. All right, let me go ahead and show you that. If I try to do that with the JPEG file, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and change the exposure. You can see that I can see the pier, but you can see the clouds got all messed up. That's one of the reasons why JPEG has limits. I mean, I can go a little bit lower, but you can still see that the clouds get sort of messed up there. All right, let's do another example. So now it's a little bit too dark, right? So I'm gonna actually bring up the shadows, which will actually bring up the shadows, such as all of the details in the trees. So I'm going to bring that back up a lot. Now you can see the background clear and also the foreground very, very clear. All right, I'm going to go ahead and try to do the same thing. Bring up the shadows. Actually, the JPEG one, not too bad. It's already working there. But the exposure thing is just doesn't look that great. All right, so a lot more control with the RAW files. Let me give you another example why RAW files are good. Now with the RAW files, you can also mess with the vibrance, saturation, clarity, and make it almost like a painting. So let's actually go ahead and do a drastic look here. So I'm gonna bring the vibrance up here and also the clarity, bring it up all the way, sort of give that painterly look. You can see there. And I'm also gonna bring up the saturation a little bit. There we go. And the photo itself looks still very detailed, and you can see, you know, it doesn't look that bad actually. I'm gonna go ahead and try to do the same thing with the JPEG file. All right, kind of give it that painting effect. Let me go ahead and bring up the vibrance here all the way. All right, actually it doesn't look too bad. Clarity all the way. Vibrance and saturation a little bit. And you can see I've lost a lot of the detail. You can see the ocean sort of got disassembled there with the blues and the light blues there. Let's go ahead and compare with this one. And you can see even with a lot of adjustments with the RAW file, you can end up with a very detailed, nice image here versus this. You can see that I lost all of the details in the cloud. The foreground actually looks a little too bright. This one a little bit more realistic. I really like it. Let's actually go check out how detailed this is. So that's zoomed in to the cars there and zoomed in. You can see you lose a lot of the clarity with the JPEG file. Of course, the advantage with RAW files is that you can change the exposure. Also, if you need to change the white balance later, you can do it all without affecting the shot. So I'm going to go ahead and change this a little bit warmer. It was actually a little bit warmer when I shot it. So more like that. And let's actually go ahead and try that with the JPEG file. Go ahead and change the temperature. And you lose a lot of detail when you're changing the temperature there. I would say like about there. So JPEG versus RAW file, what you can do, for example, a lot of times you shoot something and you know all your foreground is dark, especially if you're shooting into the sunlight. With the RAW files, you'll be able to edit it and make it look really good afterwards with all the details. Versus the JPEG, you'll lose a lot of detail. Simply, JPEG is just not as flexible as far as post-processing goes. But look at how smooth that image is versus that. All right, here's the original RAW file, all right, I took. And after editing, after messing with it, we got this nice image where we can actually see the clouds, see the pier, and also brightened up the foreground. Almost made it look HDR without even using HDR. And here's the original JPEG, all right, and versus edited JPEG there. So we lost a lot of detail. And the good thing with the RAW files is that you can keep adjusting and make different versions of your photos. You can sort of make a painter's effect, maybe make it more realistic. You know, the options are endless. Also, you can go ahead and use the Lightroom Desktop Edition, or Photoshop has pretty much the same stuff you can do. But if you want to do it on the go on your Android device, definitely check out the Lightroom app. And that's pretty much it. And I hope you guys be able to take full advantage of the raw powers of the LG G4. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you didn't know about how raw images work, now you know how to edit them on your phone using Lightroom app. And the next time you take a photo of an important moment, maybe you mess up the white balance, exposure, etc., you'll be able to correct it easily after using the Lightroom app. You can also use many other apps like Photoshop. The desktop app is actually better, which is what I use. But now you should be able to take full advantage of the RAW mode on the LG G4 and any other phones that support it. Now, if your phone doesn't support RAW mode, there is a favorite app I use right now. It's called the Camera FV5. Get the Pro version because it comes with all the resolutions. But that app is great. It will allow you to shoot in RAW mode if your phone supports it. But other than that, I'm going to be doing some more cool stuff like HDR and time lapses using your Android phones. So watch out for that. As always, don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or Google Plus, and Instagram. My Instagram is really high on Android, and I will see you guys soon. As always, stay on Android.